I don't believe in God,
but I believe in music.
It's got the power,
and I'm gonna use it.
I believe in evolution,
and the world needs solutions.
I'm gonna sing a song of reason.
We need a revolution.
Right now, don't hesitate. We gotta try to change the weather before it's too late.
There you go. That's our new little intro.
That was absolutely beautiful. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's come up pretty good, and I like the idea of including the whole community. Anyway, I'll let you go, Gigi, because you are the guest host.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. It is a pleasure to have everyone here, both our guests and our audience. Today, the topic for the Utopians is the future for the LGBTQ plus community. And I am here representing the asexuals. We have strong representation from the transgender community. And the reason for that is because we feel that it's the transgender community that is primarily under attack, and they are the ones most in need of assistance right now. And so the purpose of this program is, how can we bring utopia to the LGBTQ plus community, and especially to the transgender community? What can we do to make this more of a utopian world for you? And Jenny, I'm going to let you go ahead and start if you're okay with me picking on you first. Sure. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what kind of persecution you face, and what we can do to be of service to you.
Golly, that's a lot in one question.
It's a big one, isn't it? It's a big one. Like, just pick 1,000 things that you can say at once.
You could give us utopia if you would just like rapture all the Republicans.
Oh, hey, wonderful. Great idea.
That's a good start.
Okay, now you know where I'm coming from on this. Hi, I'm Jenny. I know that there's folks in the chat who know me already, so I'll try to make this less boring than I usually do. I'm an old person. I transitioned back in 1979. And I spent a whole bunch of years, several decades, living stealth. And when I saw how bad the politics have gotten with it around 2015, 2016, I had to come out again and start fighting, because I can't let all my compatriots in the community get abused this way. I suffer the same shit everybody else does. It's kind of under control right now, because I avoid things online that I know are going to be awful. But the community I live in a real small town in Minnesota. It's like 900 some people, and everybody's real friendly, even though it tends to be a red county. Here, this is still part of the country where I think friendship goes over politics for folks.
That's cool.
Yeah, it certainly can change, but you know, we're hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Minnesota is a real thing. It's not a myth.
It's not like Australia, which is not a real place. We all know that. I think that's
well, the western portions are. So eastern stuff, that's not real.
Yeah,
could be worse. You could be in New Zealand.
Ooh.
Australia doesn't exist. New Zealand is just Australia's imaginary friend.
I thought it was their parking lot. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All of the above, but it's not real either. So, you know.
What I'm after in this is just to do what we can. For me to do what I can in my remaining years to try to, right this ship and to beat back the bastards out there, and just do whatever it takes to not allow us to be eradicated.
Have you seen a lot of changes for the better, even though at the moment, obviously with conservatives in the US in particular at the moment, There's a lot of issues that are on the media that we can all see clearly. Have you overall, since those years, 1979, did you say you transitioned? Since then, have you seen positive changes, that it's moving in the right direction, regardless of the situation at the moment?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the excuse me. Back in those days, being trans was by far an unknown in the general population. It was not part of the common vernacular. And as a result, when someone was discovered to be trans or came out as trans, people had a lot of curiosity about it, and it was all, for the most part, I thought, very positive in its nature. They asked questions that all tended to lean towards, how can I help? Okay. Yeah. Of course, there were the people who hated us automatically. They're just like they are now, the people who know the least about us.
Yeah.
But they did not have the force and they weren't as organized as they are now. Right. In fact, the people who back then were the radical feminists who hated trans people are still the exact same people. They've just gotten older,
right,
and crankier,
and more organized, as you said.
Yeah. So that's what I'm around here for, is to just do what I can. I'm not a leader. I'm kind of a puppy dog, but we'll do what we can from my end of it. Next.
Absolutely. Penny, you're I think your mic is off.
Yeah, I turned my mic off.
That's cool.
I closed my blinds. I didn't want to be noisy.
All good. Okay. Well, same question. I'll leave you to it, Gigi, but I was going to ask Stephanie the same question.
You mean Penny?
No, Stephanie.
Stephanie. Okay. Yeah, I was going to do the same thing. Yeah. Stephanie, same question. Do you remember what it was, or you want me to say it again?
Say it again.
Okay.
They had something to do with utopia.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, we are the Utopians. And the goal of this group is to bring a little bit of utopia to the world. And what can we do to bring a little bit of utopia to you and to the transgender community?
Well, I mean, be nice.
Okay.
You could start there. That's always a nice start. Listen, understand, learn a little bit. I think a lot of people approach transgender people with, as Jenny said, curiosity, but some of that curiosity in recent days has turned to curious fury. I for myself, I am 1 year older than Jenny, but many years younger in terms of transition. I transitioned 26 years ago, 27 now, but and in those days, Jenny's days, where she had to contend with the likes of Janice Raymond, whose book The Transsexual Empire was published, I believe, in 1969, which was just if you read The Transsexual Empire and read one of J.K. Rowling's little screeds, it's pretty much the same. The anti-trans rhetoric hasn't shifted very much. In my 1998 turn of the century times, it was still very much the same way. Oh, that's curious. That's very odd. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know you apparently as well as I should. Let's get to know each other was more the attitude. And we're to steal the title of Julia Serrano's book, we're whipping girls. Now more than
that's not a bad thing always.
Oh no, that's true. It depends on your taste.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not saying in a good way, Jenny. I'm saying in a bad way. I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying in a bad way.
Non-consensual.
The impression I get is that it was almost worse to be gay back then than to be trans because it was more about
yes. Well,
Whereas-
yeah, sort of.
point.
I mean, it and the vitriol and the rhetoric directed at gay people in the 70s and 80s is echoed nowadays as far as it goes towards trans people. Although, there was a huge bathroom scare. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
And what if this?
Yeah.
All of that. It's the same stuff, and as Jenny said, it's the same people. What can you do? Again, I'll go back to just be nice and listen and learn. Don't talk about us without us. There was I was horrified. There's a 3-hour discussion on a channel called Mormon Discussions. It has that channel is huge. It's got tons of subscribers. It's mostly for people who are questioning the historicity of the Mormon Church, examining the faith claims and all of that sort of thing. It's really quite fascinating if you're into weird religions to listen to. But they put up a thing because, of course, it's obligatory. I guess everybody's got to have an opinion on trans people. So what they do, they got Bill Reel, who's one of the personalities on that channel, and some other guy who's an out-and-out transphobe, to have a nice discussion and just ask questions of each other about the trans community. And neither one of them, it was just so much misinformation and bullshit. And how do we stop the kids from getting surgeries? And it's like, if they knew a damn thing about the surgical aspects of transition, they would know. You would need to get a psychiatrist's letter. You would need to get another psychiatrist or a practitioner in the field, somebody who has experience and a master's or better degree in dealing with LGBTQ people, and specifically trans people, before a surgeon will even say hello.
Yeah, and the worst thing that's happening overall, sorry to butt in, is...
No worries. I could go on forever too.
Oh, I know, yeah. It's a conversation that definitely needs that. But the worst thing that's really happening in reality, for the most part, is like puberty blockers, isn't it? Like for young people, which is the ones that I suppose are really mostly concerned about. It doesn't really, like they talk about that there's children getting surgery to have a complete sex change and whatever else. And realistically, that's not happening, is it?
No.
Is that
no? It's not. It's not. Surgical intervention is by protocol, generally speaking, unavailable to people under the age of 18.
Yeah.
There are exceptions, and again, this is a question of what you're dealing with is a small number of people, and what you're dealing with is a problem that's intensely personal for those people. It is not a problem. I mean, imagine if the British Parliament was concerned about the number of redheads.
Yeah.
Imagine if state governments mandated a particular eye color, mandated a particular handedness. I mean, let's
exactly, which is a real thing.
It's crazy. And as far as the therapeutic effectiveness and efficaciousness, the use of puberty blockers, GnRH agonists, in young people has been done for quite a while. They were introduced, I think, in the mid 80s, and introduced for the prevention of precocious puberty, because goodness knows we wouldn't want little Sally, little Johnny, out of sequence with their cohort, which is precisely the same use for trans kids.
I never thought about that.
It is and no one is calling for GnRH agonists to be outlawed for cis children.
No.
There's a specific exemption in the Utah law that was passed for cis girls who want a boob job. They can go ahead and do that if they're 16. But not a trans girl. You can't do that if you're trans.
Hypocrisy abounds.
Yeah.
One thing that I have
Frank Turek had breast reduction surgery.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, it's just so stupid. And again, these are personal issues. These are issues that affect individual human beings and a very small number of them. And there is no reason on God's green earth. I know this is probably, there's probably a fair number of atheists involved in this discussion, and I'm one, but there's no reason on God's green earth for anyone to care. And mostly in Jenny and my day, nobody did.
Yeah.
Really.
If we're not dating, what's in your pants is none of my business.
Yeah.
Steph, it's not fair to say that it wasn't a problem. I mean, I came out, I got fired from my job. I lost my entire family, all my friends. My landlord kicked me out. There was a lot of negative to it back then too.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't want to minimize it, but I do want. I guess the contrast is you didn't have entire governments going after your ass.
No, that's
you had to deal with the individual aspects
on a family level rather than
the negotiation. But now, how are you going to negotiate with the state of New Hampshire? How are you going to negotiate with the state of South Carolina? How are you going to negotiate with the people in Congress that want to control your lives when it is hard enough to deal with family and friends? Not everybody has a smooth road.
In a couple of states, it is technically illegal for me to use a public bathroom.
Oh yeah, here in Alabama it is.
And I think a huge thing that that is also different as well is social media, and it's turned it from, like it's made it so much more public. The fight is like people get involved. The conservatives can now rally together and get so much more involved in people's personal lives than ever before. And I think that is what has like really pushed it out into, like you were saying, into Congress, and that even more so.
Yeah, social media has certainly changed that whole the whole thing.
Well, social media has been really good for giving minorities a voice. It has also been horrible in that it has given some minorities a voice.
Yeah, who are shit.
It's honestly like it's a blessing and a curse, social media, because it connects us, but then it also there's a light and shade.
It lets people with some horrible attitudes form communities around the horrible attitudes.
Yeah.
But also I have a little different question for you. And that is my experience with the persecution of the transgender community comes in two different forms. I see, and both of them are coming kind of from the same angle. Usually it's religious people, and it's usually people that are pursuing what they think their God wants. One group is the absolute hate mongers. They're the worst of the worst. They're the ones that are pushing this legislation. They're the ones that want to get rid of the transgender community entirely. But I also see another group of people who have been convinced by that first group of people that what they're doing is a good thing. That because they've convinced these people that being transgender is a delusion, and the best way that you can help a person with this delusion is by ignoring the delusion and trying to get them. Basically, it's kind of a form of conversion therapy, trying to get you to not be transgender by completely ignoring who you are. And that is the type of person that I try to reach, because they genuinely do not realize how much harm that they are causing. Do you see this as well, or do you think I'm all wet?
No, I think what you're saying is completely valid. I've got kind of a microcosm of the scale in my own family, and it is directly correlation to how religious each member is. My oldest brother not only will not have anything to do with me, he has been trying to pressure my other brothers because he doesn't approve of them accepting me.
It's
That's
just
gotta
really
hurt.
sad. Yeah, it's just really, really sad. Yeah.
Does he
You're right
do
there,
that
Coach?
because he has? Does he feel like he's doing the right thing, or does he have genuine hatred for you?
No, I really think he's doing it out of a protective reaction. Because one of the problems is he is also my godfather, which he has taken very seriously, and feels I have gone very much astray, leaving the church and so forth. He doesn't even know I'm an atheist yet. He only got up to knowing I was pagan 30 years ago. But you know, he has resisted me changing anything. When I was with my ex, I changed my last name, and it took him over 20 years to ever put my correct last name on a letter, and that was only because the post office started returning them because that name wasn't on the mailbox. So it literally took a government agency getting involved just to get him to use the name.
Wow.
Yeah, right. It's a recent thing for you, though, isn't it, Purple? Like the transitioning. I mean, obviously, it's something you've dealt with throughout
actually,
your life.
next month will be 3 years since I started HRT, and I am now in the process of trying to get surgery lined up, which, along with what Stephanie said, that the requirements I had to begin with, where I needed letters from 2 independent mental health workers and a letter from a doctor who specializes in gender medicine. And that was just to get the surgeon to talk to me. Now I've got about 4 steps to go through before they'll actually schedule a surgery. And the current waiting list is 6 months to a year after you're on that list.
Right.
And you are beyond childbearing years, correct? I mean, it's not like fertility is an issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll also be 60 in 2 months. And I don't have any biological children. Over the course of 4 relationships, I helped raise 9 kids, and that's more than enough. I could not imagine actually somebody my age having a baby, because that would mean I'd be almost 80 by the time they graduate high school.
What's his name? The former coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He continued taking in and adopting children until he was 80.
Wow.
Yeah, well, my youngest ones are in college now, so I am done with having kids and trying to have time to play with my toys myself.
I totally get that. Penelope, I don't know you, so I don't know your story. Tell us who you are and your involvement with the community.
She's a legend of rock. You go, Pen. You go. You fill us in.
Hi, lovely to meet you all, and it's such an honor to be a part of this conversation. And so I'm 35. I'm a professional singer from Sydney, Australia. I got introduced to Brian back when I was 20, 21.
Brian is me. I'm Art.
That's Art. Sorry.
No. It's a nickname, and I've kind of stuck with it. So
I usually call him Brino. So.
Brino the wino.
Oh yeah, and he calls me Penno. So very Aussie. So I'm bisexual, and and my mother's lesbian, and she's been with her wife. They got married 3 years ago, but they've been together for 16 years. I came out as bi only after I turned 30. So I was in a long-term relationship of 5.5 years, and always had a lot of curiosities about my sexuality, but I remember like people asking me about it, and me being like, well, I don't see myself marrying a woman, so I'm not gay, so I must be straight. And then I guess I'm just curious towards women. I didn't have this understanding that like what bisexuality looked like, because there wasn't that kind of visibility when I just in my general life, like back like growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, it's TV shows and magazines. So yeah, I just didn't know about it. I'll realize it. And I was also, but I have grown up like, I think I've always just been very drawn to the queer community. Like, mum tells me a lot of stories, like, cause my mum was, she was gay, but then she married my dad, was with him for 18 years, and then came out again. So she like outed herself twice, the poor thing, after they split. So that's, when she was able to live her truth again. But she had a lot of gay friends, and I was always just, from the age of like 3, I just gravitated towards everyone. And it's just always, I think, been innately, I've known that that's my community and that's where I fit and feel most comfortable and most at ease. And so when I came out after splitting from my ex and having a lot of sort of confusion around my sexuality, and a lot of a long time in that relationship of feeling sort of persecuted for expressing my curiosities, and having to like actively try to shut that down. And then that was not possible, I think, as all of us have probably experienced in our own way. It was really freeing for me to come out, and I started performing in with the bisexual community. There's a group over here called Biconic that has been started for us, and so I've become an active member, leading the Biconic and Bi Plus visibility floats in our Mardi Gras parades for the last 3 years.
You guys would know about that, the Sydney Mardi Gras. I'm pretty sure that's kind of a globally recognized thing.
Never
Penny features, always has a float in that.
Mardi Gras is huge in New Orleans and Mobile, and not as big in other parts of the country.
Right.
Jeez.
So it's also known as Pride. So over here, we call it Mardi Gras. But in other parts of the world, they're called Pride marches.
Oh, okay. No, that I'm familiar with. Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
In the northern states, if you say Mardi Gras, they immediately assume you're talking about Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that one out a little while ago. Yeah, so it's a slightly different. I would love to go to a New Orleans Mardi Gras though. That looks like hella fun. And
do they do it on Fat Tuesday?
On Fat Tuesday, I've never heard of that. What's that?
That's what Mardi Gras is. Fat Tuesday.
Oh.
Mardi is Tuesday and Gras is fat. It's Fat Tuesday.
Okay.
It's the day before Ash Wednesday. And they have a big celebration that eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow we have to start Lent.
Oh, right. So that's what it literally is.
It's big in Quebec.
Got its roots in the church. How ironic.
Yeah. It's the feast before you start
what are we lending?
All good stuff.
Yeah, right. There we go. And giving ourselves up for Lent.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I gave up one.
I feel as though it's a relevant time to bring this in, because we were just talking about Mardi Gras. Okay, and I was in two minds about playing this video, but it's something that we did, myself and Penn, a little while ago. So we might as well have. Oh, how do I get to that? Hang on, I'll play this for you, and then I'm going to ask a question at the end of it. Let's have a look. This is the Mardi Gras, but it's 2016.
Wise, hatred is foolish.
Okay.
Very nice.
So that was a little thing, and let me just say that's not Penny's song. I asked her to do that a little while ago. I only say that because she might look at it and think, "Oh my God, why am I associated with this?" I don't want it to seem corny. The other thing is that I was a bit concerned that it could seem like jumping on the bandwagon with the whole LGBTQ plus thing, but it is heartfelt for me. Like, I do believe and I'm a supporter of that community. So that's why I wrote it. But I don't know how that comes across to other people. So I was actually in two minds about playing that video. And I was thinking about publishing it on the channel, but I don't know. As people from the community, how do you perceive that?
I think you should definitely post it for everybody.
You think so? Awesome.
Yep.
More joy. More joy.
Yeah, it is.
Get all the joy out there. That's
Yeah.
How do you create utopia? Well, I don't know. Utopia means nowhere, so
yeah.
But
it's
I think more joy. Just bring more joy into the world all the time. I've said recently, it's making it a bit of a slogan. Being trans is easy. Living it is what is the pain in the ass. It's not hard to be trans. I knew my gender identity was very clear to me when I was 3. And the only thing that was difficult was trying to convince other people that, you keep calling me a boy and you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, you just knew it from that young age, which just says everything. It's not like it's a fad that you pick up in your teens. You think, oh, I'm going to go in this direction. Like, it's there, instilled in you. It's part of who you are.
Yeah. I hate the people who are saying that it's a fad or a social contagion, because they clearly have no idea. I mean, even to start the HRT, I had to be seeing a therapist for a year before a doctor would even talk to me about the hormones.
Yeah.
Clearly, no one is doing this to get attention. Who goes to that extent? Look, humans are weird. I'm not saying that that can't happen. Maybe there are tiny, teeny weeny percentage of people who claim to be trans who are just attention getters. Who knows? I don't know. I knew someone that used to claim to be gay, but I knew wasn't gay because it was a cool thing. Okay, so someone that I knew in my 20s.
I knew a guy that claimed to be black, and he was white.
Now that's tougher to do. Although you can get,
he was doing it for attention.
Yeah, right. So I mean, but that it's not to take it away from obviously the serious issue. Like if that exists, it's a tiny percentage. Who's going out there just to get attention? The vast majority of people are sensible and reasonable enough to say, no, I'm not going to that extent just because I want to get some attention. I'm this because it's who I am. That's the bottom line.
There is a very small minority, and it's not a lot of people, but there are a few girls that want to transition, not because they identify as boys, but because they've been the victim of sexual abuse, and they find it the easiest way to get away from their abuser. Is to be, if they see me as male, they're not going to do this to me.
That is unfortunate for many reasons and misguided because, boys bully other boys anyway.
Yeah.
Well, my story in some ways is very similar to Penelope's, and in some ways is absolutely the opposite. Because I am the opposite of Penelope. I am asexual. But like Penelope, I didn't realize it until I was well into, although for me, I was even older, I was well into my 50s. And it's because I'd never heard of asexuality. And the first time someone told me the term, I said, "What's that?" And they listed all the symptoms, and I had all but one of them. And I was like, that explains a lot. And the biggest thing it explained was my teenage years, when I would watch all the girls go gaga over Donny Osmond and Sean Cassidy.
Donny Osmond. I remember all those guys. We're about the same age.
Yeah. And I was just sitting there going, it's a guy. So what? Who cares?
Not interested.
Yeah. In my lifetime, there have been 4 times when I have felt sexual attraction to a man. And to me, it was such a confusing feeling because I'm not used to this, that I absolutely ran from it, because I didn't even know what it was. I'd never felt anything like that before. But I wish I could meet Ray Comfort. And when he asked the question, "Have you ever experienced lust?" my truthful answer is no, I have not. I don't feel sexual attraction. I don't feel lust. Now, I do not face the persecution that the rest of you do, because the religious groups don't care about me. I have heard from some other asexual people that they face issues when dating, because if they tell the person, a potential sex partner, that they're asexual, sometimes the reaction they get is, well, you just haven't met the right partner yet. If you had the right partner, you wouldn't feel that way. And sometimes they can get goaded into sexual relationships they don't want. Being married, I don't have to worry about that because I don't date.
Yeah.
There unfortunately are some of the very religious types that do get mad about asexuals as well.
Oh, really?
Well, because then the woman is not fulfilling God's purpose for them.
I bore 4 children. How many more do you want?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, then you've got to explain to them how an asexual had sex, because, to them that's a logical impossibility.
Called the turkey baster.
I think I've got some asexual friends, and what they've expressed to me is, and I hope that you haven't experienced this, Godless, but it's more so the issue for them is not feeling like they fit exactly in some way, because sometimes the LGBTQIA plus community doesn't acknowledge because they've got a lack of sexuality. So why would they fit into, which I don't agree with. I don't hold that belief at all. And then there's also, the hetero world, which is like, married, have kids, and, men want women and women want men. So like sort of thing. So there's more of an invisible struggle. And, I definitely am, big in like welcoming the asexual community in, because it's by definition, like our community is like anything queer, like anything outside of what is normal lives here and is safe to be true to who you are,
In fact, the Q in LGBTQ plus, blah, 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 probably covers pretty much everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been involved with
just be the letter Q.
I've been involved with the queer community since the early 80s.
Yeah.
And back then we were having the same discussion about a lot of them saying that, why should bisexuals be included? So it's like every decade we have the same discussion, and they just change the name of which group it is.
Yeah, definitely. Like in Sydney, the Sydney Mardi Gras, bisexuals were actively excluded from marching, only up until literally in the last like 8 years. But back, so I don't know if you saw at the beginning of the film clip that Art showed, there was a big banner of 78, and so that's the year that the first protests marched, which it is a protest for our community. And but yeah, when that's how Mardi Gras or Pride lifted off in Sydney. And when it started to gain traction, there was this active you were questioned about your sexuality, and bisexuals had to hide their sexuality if they wanted to march. So they had to label themselves as gay or lesbian in order to march. They had to hide themselves. And I've experienced backlash for my sexuality and questioned, and you're just claiming that you want to be with women just so you can be a part of the community, especially being an artist as well. So it looks like you're kind of just tokenizing you like kissing girls, also therefore like you think you're one of us, sort of thing.
Why are they always trying to exclude everybody? What is this thing with division all the time? So that everybody's trying to divide everybody. It's like,
well, it's actually I personally have an issue with all of the different variants on the pride flag, because the original rainbow flag was supposed to be a single banner that everyone was welcome under. And I'm afraid all the individual flags are like splintering the community into smaller tribes, which is just going to make it easier for the conservatives to pick off the smaller
almost
groups.
Becoming like religion. Sorry to butt in, purple.
Yeah.
It's like religion, which is divided into 8 million different religions within religions.
We're even if we're all together, we're still a fairly small minority of the population. So if we don't stick together, there's no way that any of us are going to come out of this well.
Absolutely. That's about. What are we going to do? Start having wars between bisexuals and gays, and then the trans people come in with their swords and stuff? Like, I'm sorry, that's my mind just wandering off there.
Yeah, but I can see you forming a battlefield.
But I've got it all.
I don't need swords. I've got the horns to impale you.
Yeah.
Did you all catch the news this week, earlier this week, that the United Methodist Church has changed their mind and are now going to allow LGBT people as clergy?
Yes, I saw that.
Well, that's a step ahead, surely.
Yeah. Well, there was a schism in the United Methodist Church.
Yep.
That they actually several churches split off from them because they were arguing about whether or not they should allow gay marriages in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they fixed that.
I really think that 15 years from now, the Catholic Church is going to allow gay marriage in the church.
Oh, no way. Not a chance.
You don't think so? Because they're already okaying blessing them.
Right.
No,
I never even thought about that because, Pen, we just got gay marriage through here like a few years, 4 or 5 years ago, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really think about that. Does that mean that they can get married in a church, or it's got to be a celebrant? Or I hadn't even really thought about that.
So the celebrants now, because I play a few weddings, the celebrants now have to to make the wedding official, the union official, they have to legally say certain things in their service. And so it used to be a wedding is a union between a man and a woman. And now they've legally changed it to a wedding is a union between any two people. So
you still have to say the magic words or the ritual doesn't work.
Yeah. It's not you'll do. But sorry, go on.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to ask Purple, did you see the news about a year ago about the priest that was using the wrong words while he was baptizing babies, and they declared that several thousand people weren't correctly baptized, and they annulled all their marriages and that?
No.
I had heard about that, and it was just like 2 words that he was off.
Yeah.
It was like his entire career's worth of adoptions were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that 20, 30, 40 years worth of adoption.
Yeah, the Cardinal of Colleges decided that, all the children he had baptized were never officially members of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so then they annulled the weddings that were done through the church.
Well, they originally said they were going to, but I think they ended up finding some kind of exception for them.
Surely reason has to come to the top of a situation like that.
You can't mix the words. You can't mix the words reasonable and religion.
Religion, I know, it doesn't generally mix all that well.
Yeah. No, it makes no sense.
What I thought was hilarious was during COVID, I saw these things from many different churches of the priests baptizing kids with squirt guns so that they could stand 6 feet away and shoot them in the face with the water.
I have to be careful because I have a nephew and a niece who are both pastors in the United Methodist Church, and I've had many talks with Bill, not so many with Becky, but about the schism and about the stuff. And of course, they're both like, wait a minute, I'm not gonna throw my aunt under the bus. You know?
Yeah,
so
I was actually a member of a United Methodist Church as a teenager because I grew up Catholic, so the United Methodists seemed much more progressive.
It's important to remember anytime you start talking about this subject. For me, there are 2 things that are just absolutely cardinal to this discussion. One is that the current trend of hate, let's try to simplify the description, is new, is current. It was started intentionally. It was designed to do what it is doing now by parts of the Republican Party and some religious extremists. We know it. There's written evidence of it. And
it's a distraction.
Yeah, and that nowadays, oh gosh, there's such a bent nowadays on bringing religion into government, at least in the United States, but I guess other places too, that we're suddenly finding ourselves in a culture that says, oh, freedom of religion, but they're passing all these laws that are completely religiously based, that have no grip in reality, that have only to do with a certain group of people's feelings. And it's pathetic. This country has become a joke politically. With it allowing this to happen over the last 10 years. This is just ridiculous.
It is turning on the Republicans because
not hard enough, not fast enough.
Yeah, but especially with the Roe versus Wade, but also a lot of people in polls are saying that the Republicans focusing on transgenders is putting them off of the party.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because people have had enough of
the polling is positive. Josie Caraballo and I were talking about this yesterday on the Transatlantic Calling program, because that was the focus of the poll, and I think it's really different. It's different in different places. I think that I'm hopeful about things turning around in the United States because of the vote to keep abortion legal in Ohio was strong pushback from the public against this rather extreme, incredibly extreme measures. There's pushback in Arizona against the reinstatement of an 1864 law that would have banned abortion in the state that was still on the books. And the voters voted to repeal that. And as far as trans people are concerned, it's a mixed bag right now. The governor of Texas and his criminal attorney general and Stephen Miller, the Santa Monica Nazi that was an aide to Donald Trump, are challenging the Biden regulations for Title IX, which expanded protections to transgender people in education. They're planning on suing. In fact, they filed a lawsuit to challenge that. The Fourth Circuit Court just upheld trans kids' rights in 2 cases, and the Northern Federal District Court of Northern Texas has held the opposite. So these things are headed to the Supreme Court. My question in my country is Justice John Roberts gonna wind up being the second worst justice in the history of the United States Supreme Court, Chief Justice, right next to Roger Taney, who upheld the fugitive slave law?
Dred Scott
decision. Yep.
Yeah, but I forget which state it was now, but just Wednesday, in one state, they were trying to override a governor's signature on a law, or no, override the governor's veto. And
it failed.
Yeah, that they, in the end, they actually got a couple of the Republicans to side with the Democrats on it. And it was a law that basically about preventing minors from getting any kind of gender affirming care.
And the legislator who switched her vote, one of them anyway, gave a very, very heartfelt speech.
Yeah.
Saying that these are matters of a deeply personal nature that government has no business sticking its nose in.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging, because it's that, it is difficult to argue that if your political principles are founded on liberty, that such things of deeply personal nature are the proper province of government. And so I hope that thread is deep enough that these folks will find it difficult to find resonance in making this a sticking point, a sticking agenda moving forward politically. That's my hope. I have no idea.
Because they do want to get into people's personal lives, and it's not really a political issue. It shouldn't be. It's very personal. where do you think that comes from? Do you think that leads back to religion, the influence of religion in politics? Because religion,
yes.
and I don't want a religion bash, I don't want to do that, but they're the ones that want to involve themselves in people's personal lives, and sex and everything else.
I think it has to do with
paramount for them. It has to be, because politicians don't care, do they? Surely, if it's just political.
I think Stephanie had a
purely political. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to say Stephanie had a point. You said it comes down to fear as well.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I think that this is one of the weaknesses of religion generally, because it's fear of death, fear of doing wrong by God and all of that. So yeah, I mean, but basically it comes down to a visceral fear of the unknown, of something that you can't wrap your mind around. Why would anybody do that? I don't understand. And if you can't understand and you're unwilling to ask to gain understanding, if you're willing to cut off empathy, then you just say no. No, I don't even want to think about it. It makes me uncomfortable. Make them go away, which is why you get these exaggerated spiels from the likes of our friend Michael Knowles, saying that call it transgenderism needs to be eliminated from the public sphere. That whole ideology, why it gets translated into an ideology. Match their own,
because
we have an ideology. So we're gonna lay upon you an ideology when trans people are so incredibly diverse for a small number of people. People run the gamut from Blair White to me, or Buck Angel to Dr. Ben. It's just there's no accounting for this, and they need to turn it into an ideology, because they have one, and they're trying to weave a narrative that gives them an enemy to fight.
Under testing, the word ideology strikes fear into the hearts of people. It sounds sinister, is how it's always interpreted.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been used to describe us.
The Nazis, whoever. It's an ideology.
Yeah, well, they talk about the trans agenda or the gay agenda, and in either case, the only agenda we have is we want people to leave us alone so we can just live our own lives.
Exactly. It's so personal. It's absolutely so personal. I honestly, it's just beyond me. It's beyond me why it should be an issue. Just leave people to live their lives. Like, we're all fellow humans. Isn't that the number one thing? Yes, we're all a bit different. Like, what's the big deal, Unless you're a poisonous, nasty person, unless you are a Hitler or someone like that, they're the ones that we need to fight against. Not just small groups of people, It just blows me away. I don't see why we have to be so divisive all the time. That's the whole point of this channel, is to try and bring people together, because we're all just people. Bottom line.
Well, anyone, regardless of who they're dating, any relationship is only important to the people involved in it. Anyone outside of that relationship should have no say about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't be passing a law for that individual person's relationship with someone else within a family or a whatever, like it's none of your business. Fuck off, basically.
Well, we are running out of time, and so I'm going to go around and let everyone have an opportunity for closing thoughts. And Art, you're going to go last, and you can tell us when the next show is, and if we have a topic for the next one, you can tell us what it is. And so, Jenni, let's start with you. Any closing thoughts?
No. I'm just gonna go take a bed, take myself to bed. Sleep late tomorrow morning.
Okay, Stephanie.
Hey, yeah, just bring joy to the world. Bring joy into the world as much as possible. As you like to say, Godless Granny, live your life. and and learn from the lives around you. That I think is utopia. I mean, I think that's the way to that's the way to bring that about.
Okay, very good. Purple.
Yeah, if you don't understand somebody else's life, don't try to regulate it. Let them figure it out on their own.
Very good. Penelope.
Yeah, I think that I'm very passionate about visibility, and so I think all of us being visible in any way we can, like today, for example, really matters, because there are people out there who don't understand how they feel and how they fit in, and us being present and visible, that gives them permission to find their truth. So I think this is really valuable.
Okay, very good. Art, what do we have coming up in the future?
I have no planned live stream yet, but there's going to be ongoing stuff, because look, it's creative stuff. It's essentially altruistic propaganda. That's the only way that I can describe it. So everything that we do will be about putting out positive vibes, propaganda that is coming from the good side of things, like what we're talking about today. That's inclusive, bringing people together rather than dividing, which is what propaganda does in general. So it's altruistic propaganda. Be doing a lot of artistic things. I'd like to include people from the community in different projects. I had a couple more things to play, but I know we've gone over time here. But I want to include the community in with the altruistic propaganda. It's like doing ads, jingles, music videos, and including the community in that. So that's what will be coming up. I don't have a topic yet for the next live stream, but we'll aim within the next 2 or 3 weeks. There are plenty of issues that we do need to talk about. Clearly there's a lot of other issues out there apart from the one that we're talking about today. So they will happen down the track. But can I just say this issue here is important. It's one that I feel involved in and want to be a part of, and something that I have been outspoken about over the years as an ally. This is kind of an introduction for me into what I would like to have as a continued thing on the channel, done in different ways through regular live streams. Maybe the people that are on the panel today might like to appear again in the future, and maybe get involved in different ways also with, music and different things. So yeah, this will be touched upon regularly. And I would like to have all you people around. Yeah, in saying that's probably it. It's about inclusion. It's about not dividing people. It's about bringing us all together. We're all just people. The utopians just want to see a brighter future for everybody. That's all. And there are people out there that want to divide. We're doing the opposite. We want to bring people together. So ultimately, that's what's happening. That's what it's about. And can I say, I just appreciate everybody for taking the time and turning up today. That is very much appreciated. You're all lovely people.
And thank you to everyone in the chat who has added to this conversation. Yep. Thank you to everyone who's watching this in the future. I hope that you take something away from this. And thank you especially to everyone on the panel. Thank you all for coming. It has been a pleasure having you here.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I will end this.
It's always nice to come.
Thanks, Gigi. Okay, good on you guys. Bye.